Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Aligning with Success. It's Monday, August the 16th, 2021. I'm your host, Mike DiMuccio, Royal Diamond with Nikan, forever in a day, like 29 and a half years. Okay, so how's everybody doing this evening? I think people are still loading up, getting on. I wanted to just highlight a few things, but before I do that, let's just see if there's any questions out there or any direction you might like this call to take with respect to questions you might have regarding Nikan as a business, as a career, profession, anything, any subject material you'd like me to touch on tonight. I want to make this a little bit more interactive. Now's your chance. Ask away. Okay.
Mike, I have a question.
Yep.
We don't talk about it much, but since we're halfway through the year, I'd love to hear you in particular, since you've had such a wonderful career with Nikan, discuss the how to start strategizing as we earn our money and how that works in terms of the tax benefits and how you put money aside for that. And when are the 1099 forms due? Because I know it's different, of course, than for most of us working people who know about W-2. Just to do a little talk on how to start looking for that benefit, that financial benefit, as we approach the end of the year.
Interesting. Okay. I can tell you what I do from my point of view, I guess, more than anything, because that might help. And I can give you a financial strategy as well, something that I learned very early in my career. I call it the 3-bucket rule. And it's something that I have as a training for diamonds. So let me first of all, well, thanks for that question. Before I just tackle that, let me see if there's any other questions or issues that somebody might like me. Go ahead, Ling.
Michael, last month with the very interesting special, and this month with all the combinations that you have about the shoes, a lot of people, Barbara Bertucci is really good at this, telling all kinds of ways to break it apart. And oh, you don't need 3. Okay, well, I have one that I need to sell to somebody else. So for the 3-for-1, I'll give you a bracelet instead. Or, or if you want to order this, anyway, kind of clever things that people who are more businessy than I am do. And I would love to hear just kind of things that people do for business tactics like that.
Okay. Incentives, sort of things that, okay. And I have a particular strategy where that's concerned too.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Incentives. Anyone else want to cover something specific?
I have a question.
Sure.
I would like to know what keeps you all in the game, the longevity of being a part of this company. I look at all of the faces and, it's 10 plus years, 20 plus years. How do you keep that momentum going so that you can have that longevity?
I think we'll save that one for last. All right. Great question. I think Maggie's got the answer.
Yes, right here.
Oh, okay.
All right. Let's start.
I learned that could be Siaga. That could be
Maggie knows I
disguised as Siaga.
I love a nice glass of wine. All right. Well, let's start with the strategizing regarding income, taxes, and so forth. First of all, most of you, I hope you realize, actually, you know what? This is an interesting thing. So I added this slide. I'm working on some revisions on how to better present Nikan, given some of the things that I've encountered with this new young group, which is really blossoming nicely. Here we go. So cash flow quadrants, there's an interesting thing that Robert Kiyosaki mentions when he talks about cash flow quadrants. He mentions that it's obviously a strategy for creating financial independence or financial freedom. Most people are in the employee quadrant or self-employed. The combination of the two is 95% of the population. And do you know which of these four quadrants pays the most taxes? It's an important question to know.
Employees.
Correct.
Employees.
Employees actually is the highest taxpayer. Do you know which of these quadrants is the person or the group that pays the least?
Investor.
That's also correct. So you've got from one end of the spectrum to the other. In fact, investor doesn't pay any taxes if they're doing this right, because they turn their profits into more investments and they grow their portfolio, which defers taxes. So, but the employee, they get taxed right at the source before they even get their check. So you can see how the tax system is favors the entrepreneur, the business owner, particularly the business investor. So employees, if you pay taxes, which you do, and you want to start reducing the taxes that you're paying, start a business. That's just a logical thing to do. By starting a business with the intention of making profits, such as a Nikken business, then there's costs associated with operating a business. And those costs include your cell phone, your internet connection. It could include a portion of the space in your home if that space is dedicated for building your business, such as an office, my home office, for instance. There's also ways to reduce your taxes by, but of course, I'm talking about tracking all these things. So you've got to, I carry a business Visa card that's specific for business expenses. That way I can segregate between my personal expenses and business expenses. The things that are business expenses include meals and entertainment. So if I take a client out for dinner or a prospect out for dinner or lunch or over coffee, the costs that I incur at that event and the travel time to get there, meaning the time I'm using my car, which could be gas or mileage in most cases if you track mileage. And there are apps, by the way, you can get on your phone that do this. But all of these things which cost you money to generate sales, because it's the business activity of part of prospecting, promotion, any of the promotional materials you purchase, even products that you use for promotion, all of these things are tax deductible. Now, if you're not a very large business yet in Nikken and not yet incorporated, then you've got your personal income as an employee, and then you've got your Nikken income as a self-employed person, and they can go on the same tax filing. So you could take taxes, or excuse me, you would take your combined income from your salary as an employee and your income from Nikken, and that would be your total gross income for the year. But then you start reducing the deductions like the space in your home, the phone costs and so forth that are allocated for your business, and you start to reduce your taxable income. And at first, when you're building a business of any kind, Nikken or otherwise, you're going to incur a lot of costs. Those costs, by way of promotion, essentially, those costs can be deducted against your income, which includes your employee income, and it can really save you a bunch of money for that tax year. So keeping a record and getting in the habit of segregating your costs of doing business. So let me give you an example of a cost of doing business. Let's say you go to dinner and you discuss business. Somewhere in that conversation, that dinner, business is discussed. When you pay for that check, right on the back of that receipt, who you were with and what you discussed, stick that in an envelope. My tax filing system is not very sophisticated. It's an envelope. I just shove stuff in the envelope and hand it to the person who does the calculations. They now are directly connected to my Visa statements. So they just, do all the Visa statements. And every once in a while I get an email with 5 or 6 questions. What is this? What is this? What is this? What is this in terms of expenses? And then I explain what those expenses are, if I can remember, otherwise I have to look it up. And then they just simply file it for me. So if you've got somebody who does simply accounting or whatever, but the point is, start paying attention to what you're spending in terms of costs. And like I said, some of your common expenses right now could be actually deductions on your income. I want to just show you this slide. So on the left-hand side, we trade time for money. And on the right side, the idea is to add value. And how we do that is we create assets. I don't know if you can see that, but let me just close my screen here. So the right-hand side, you want to add value. You want to change the relationship you have with money. And this is, by the way, becoming the #1 topic of discussion for the young generation that I'm working with right now. In fact, so much so that they've decided collectively that the video that they ask people to first watch after the contact and invitation call, the first video they asked them to watch is a video called Join the 1%. You'd find that on the Royal Alliance channel. It's me doing a 10 or 12-minute presentation on this concept of how Nikken is a business that allows you to add value and grow so that you can get out of the trading time for money scenario. And so you do that by building assets. And every time you enroll somebody in Nikken as a business builder, they're an asset to your business. Some assets are larger than others, just like any company. Some businesses grow larger than others. But if you have enough of them and it all adds up, then it starts to create an asset whose income can create a time freedom. So the difference between the left-hand side who basically trade time and the right-hand side who invest time to build assets, that's the distinction. And so we're using that language. We're helping people to understand a fundamental concept, because most people don't understand this concept. They really don't. People who've been employees for 20, 30 years don't understand this concept. And that's why they don't comprehend quite how a Nikken business can be a vehicle to creating financial freedom. Or they are stuck. If you're in Nikken and you're still trading time for money, you're still stuck in a paradigm. You're not leveraging something. And the key to going from the left-hand side to the right-hand side is leverage and compounding. Notice the word is leverage. Leverage under here, and leverage under investor. So leverage is the key, leverage and compounding, so that you can scale that asset into a significant size. So Nikken is a way to build assets. Furthermore, if we get in, this is another nuance, and we'll get back to the tax conversation, but I'm starting to find that one of the other roadblocks is people think it's an all or nothing proposition, that in order for you to be successful in Nikken, it's all or nothing. You've got to give it everything or you can't do anything. And this is, again, a paradigm, okay? Because their perception of business is it's all or nothing. Their perception of job is all or nothing. Their perception of their passion and their purpose is it's all or nothing. And I had to remind something, actually just yesterday, where they said they couldn't do something because, if they can't give it their all. I said, well, hang on a second. You could decide to work for 1 hour a day, giving it your all. It doesn't mean giving all your time. It means give it your all in the time that you give it. Big difference. And man, that was like an eye opener for that person. It didn't even occur to them that they were stuck in a paradigm. So let me say that again, give it your all in the time you give it. So it doesn't mean give it all your time. It just means give it your all in the time you give it. 100% focus, concentration, and that's more effective than distractions anyways, no matter how much time you give something. So what we were coming across is we were running into this objection. People, even who joined the business or contemplating joining the business, are thinking, if I can't be part of the big picture, then I really can't be part of this. And we're like, no. Let me explain to you that in Nikken is a bridge to healthy finances, and there's 3 paths in the Nikken business. The retail model is one path. That path is immediate. It's usually a starting point for somebody who's a newcomer to being an entrepreneur. And it's where they occasionally share products with customers, friends, acquaintances. They create customers, and that can enable them to generate an extra $400 or $500 a month. In Nikken right now, if you did 4 waterfalls in a month, that would be like 1 a week. that would generate considerably more than $500 profit with the incentives that are in place. And if you're a silver, take it over $800. So this is a really nice model for somebody to cut their teeth on network marketing and get, familiar with the nuances. Also, what I like about this model is you can limit your conversation to maybe one product or one category. Right now, I've got all the network of my daughter's teams learning about the waterfall, the shower, and they're selling packs. They're selling packs because they learned that if you're going to take care of your body by drinking clean, healthy water, why shower and garbage? They're related. So the shower unit becomes something that's synonymous with anybody who's interested in clean water. And then of course, we have the water on the go. So the pack is a very logical conclusion. Regardless, they're learning how to do that one thing well enough that they're starting to sell multiples of the waterfall or the water pack. So that's one way of getting somebody started on a path where it's not an all or nothing. How about this one, the franchise model? When you're ready to graduate and start looking at this more from the business point of view of maybe a second income, $1,500 or more a month, then that's about leveraging now. You're starting to sponsor people. So you're going to find partners and customers, building a business over time by sharing the products and introducing people to the opportunity. You're now adding a level of understanding. You're now adding a component to your conversation. So it requires a little bit more skill, a little bit more learning. And this is a person who can then start to build an income in tandem with the volume that's being created by partners on their team. That's the franchise model. Well, there's a greater skill set and a greater reward for the network marketing model, because the network marketing model, switch this over here. The network marketing model is really somebody's going after Niken as a primary income. And that's like $5,000 or more a month would be a reasonable target for somebody's looking at a primary income and learning the network marketing model, which means an increase in their skill level and their understanding of how to go about marketing the business. They find core partners to build an organization. Now they're looking at building an organization. That means creating a team, creating an experience, creating a relationship, and they're using a system. That's the key to the business building model, is a system. So now they're using what I call the partnering process and the launch strategy. Those are the things that I've always taught. Those are the things that I teach in this PowerPoint. These are the things you've heard me teach all along. That relates back to the tools that I often refer to. The $1 million list here in the back of that is the strategy chart, in which there's the partnering process and there's the actual launch strategy. So that's a system. The network marketing model is about learning, teaching, practicing a system. And that's where you can start to generate an organization and leadership within that. In addition to being a little bit more committed to the business of building an organization, you're also committed to your wellness home. You're committed to your wellness subscription. You're committed to plugging in and promoting the Niken Rhythm, which is the weekly, monthly, and quarterly events. So this is the category that really asks you to leverage a system. And so this is a little bit more. Now, I didn't say it takes more time. We're not talking about time here. We're talking about what your focus is and what your skill level is needed in order to leverage this particular path. Now, knowing that I've just described the three paths in Niken, you can suit the Niken opportunity to a person depending on where they're at in terms of their skill level, their level of willingness to commit, and more specifically, what it is that they're seeking as an outcome. Now, there's somewhat of a relationship between the income and the work ethic together in the Niken business. So this slide is now becoming actually pretty important in our conversations with people who are looking at Niken. They've passed the, oh yeah, I like Niken, I like the idea. They've had the why conversation, they've had the how conversation. Now they want the what does it take conversation. And this is where this slide is going to be relevant, because what it takes is a decision about what it is you want. I can't tell you what it takes until I know what you want. And then what you want kind of determines, reverse engineered, determines what we're going to do with it. Makes sense, right? So I know you're going to have more questions about this or whatnot. I'm not ready to publish this, but I will shortly, so that you have this to utilize as well. But definitely have this conversation with people when you're enrolling people, because it's not an all or nothing. It's baby steps for some. It's, you know, walking for others, and it could be running or sprinting for some. You just got to be aware of where they're at and present to them those options, because they may be scared away if they think it's an all or nothing scenario. And it's not. It's a paradigm that they have because their job takes, you know, everything they got for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. So that's their paradigm. That's what they understand. You have to help them understand that that's not what we're doing here. We're not in the business of trading time for money. We're trying to help you get out of the racket, get out of that rat race, and build a bridge. And Nikan is that. It's a pathway. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with starting at the retail model, graduating to the franchise model, and then going for it in the network marketing model. People do that all the time. That could be your 90-day, you know, cut your teeth on this business. Most of us have done that, actually. It's rare that you find somebody who comes in and races the network marketing model unless they have network marketing experience. Typically, that's what happens. So by the way, if you want to accelerate your progress, it's also helpful to find somebody with some network marketing experience. That's a good thing. Okay, so getting back to the tax scenario, one of the things, obviously, if you're accumulating your receipts, which I suggest you do, and you do it per month, so you have your income and your expenses on a monthly basis. That way, if you have an accountant or if you're doing the math at the end of the year, it's really easy. You just look at the envelope marked January, the envelope marked February, the envelope marked, you know, what comes after that, March, and so forth. My year end happens to be July. So because I'm a corporation, you get to pick whatever your year end is. So my corporation, Good Vibrations International Limited, has a year end of July 31st. So we just passed the year end. And one of the things that you do in a corporation in Canada is you pay your taxes as you go. So you might think, well, that kind of sucks, but you know what? It's not a bad thing, because you might be ahead or a little bit behind at the end of the year, but not by much if you're paying your taxes regularly. And it's usually determined by how much taxes you paid in the previous year. They tell you should be doing this every month. And so that's what I do. I get a lump sum that when I do my budget, which I did today. And so every 15th of the month, 13th of the month, this time was a weekend, so I just took the day off, but I usually do a monthly budget, which means here's the income, here are my fixed costs. These are the expenses that must get paid come hell or high water. And then there's the variables, the things that, I'm going to put a little bit more on the visa on this side, or I'm going to do this, or am I going to, you know, whatever, I might save for that. But I always have a budget that I manage every single month. And I look at those numbers and I carry the numbers forward so I know how I'm doing. Am I falling behind? Am I ahead? I try to keep a balance, right? That's the whole idea, is if we start paying attention to something, then that thing that we're paying attention to starts to grow. And if you're paying attention to your money and how you're allocating those resources, and how you're earning those resources, it's going to start to grow. So very, very simple idea. More about your process of money. It's called the 3-bucket strategy. And the first bucket, think of 3 buckets, okay? And think of water's pouring in on the first bucket. And then when the first bucket fills, it overflows into the second bucket. And then when the second bucket fills to the top, it then overflows into the third bucket. So let me describe what these buckets are. The first bucket is, what does it take for you to maintain your current lifestyle on a monthly basis? What is that dollar amount? That means you're not doing anything different, anything unusual. It's just, what does it take for you to maintain your life at this current level? Whatever that dollar value is, 5,000, 10,000, 3,000, whatever that monthly nut is, that's the first bucket. So that's the money coming in to service the needs. So that budget has to come out of the budget. That has to be the first thing you take care of in your budget analysis. The must payments. That's the thing that I take care of first. what are the things? I don't have an app to make my budget. I just put all the line items on a Word document. I could put it on Excel because I do the same thing. I just never have. It used to be handwritten, and then I decided to do it the type that way. I just have to change the numbers instead of the headings. But it's just a Word document, and I just change the numbers every month. And I use my phone as a calculator, so it's nothing magical. Again, I could have used an Excel spreadsheet, but I still don't mind doing the math. Anyway, so the first category is the must payments. That's the nut. Now what happens is once you've made those payments or you've allocated the monies for those payments, the next category, the second bucket is, this is the security bucket. Now, what I've seen people do often is they start making more money than their nut, than their budget for the lifestyle need. They start to then do what? Increase their lifestyle. Oh, I'm going to get a better car. Oh, I'm going to get a bigger house. Oh, and they, instead of thinking, because they haven't been taught this, they make more money, they spend more money. They make more money, they spend more money. And so nothing actually changes because the paradigm has not changed. So the 3-bucket strategy changes your paradigm. What happens is, and I did this, what happens is the second bucket you fill to meet the security needs. So my first objective was I wanted to meet 2 years of monthly payments. So whatever that monthly payment is, let's say it's $5,000 a month, 12 months is $60,000. That means I have to have $120,000 saved up in my second bucket. That's liquid, okay? You can invest it in GICs or short-term investment things that are secure assets, secure investments, but you got to have access to that money. Why? Well, what if there's a bump in your income? Something happens in your income, you need to draw down from that reserve. But if you have that reserve, what's your state of mind, which controls everything about your cash and your cash flow? Poverty consciousness creates poverty. You got to get out of that racket. And the only way to do that is to put your mind at ease. And the way to do that is to have a security blanket. So, which is not a false security blanket, a job. It's a false security blanket. What you need is you have to have that second bucket. So what you do is once your monthly nut is paid, you then let the spillover go into the second bucket and you start saving and saving and accumulating until you have minimum 2 years of savings being 24 months times that monthly lifestyle nut. I then pushed it to 3 years because my real security blanket was 3 years. Why? Because I figured if something went drastically wrong, within 3 years' time, I could reasonably recreate the income that I need in order to support my lifestyle. So that was my number, 3 years in the bucket that could support my lifestyle for 3 years. That's before I moved my lifestyle at all. Before I changed the car I was driving or anything, I wanted to make sure I had those two things. And then, by the way, what happens if I do increase the expenses on the first bucket? Like I get another car, a second car or whatever. If I increase the expenses on that first bucket, then I don't have enough in security. So guess what I have to do? Put more into the security until I got 24 months of that first monthly nut covered, or 36 months, even better. Before I even talk about the third bucket. What's the third bucket? So I got bucket number 1, which is my monthly. Then the spillover goes into bucket number 2 until bucket number 2 reaches its point of 2 or 3 years, whatever you're comfortable with. And then what? I have a choice, either increase my lifestyle or bucket number 3. Bucket number 3 is roll the dice, baby, and see what comes up. That's the money that you use for investments. And let me tell you, there's no such thing as a secure investment, especially if you're, investing in new corporations or new ideas or whatever. There's risk. So it's okay because you got the first 2 buckets covered. You can afford to take some risk. And what I learned early on is it's about 1 in 3. 1 in 3 of your investments will hit, and you'll make a return. It'll make it worthwhile, the money that you lost on the other two. But because you're an investor, you don't pay any taxes. Remember, the investor in that category doesn't pay tax. Why? Because they just keep turning the money into more money by investing in other things. So your wealth building bucket is number 3. Number 1 is current lifestyle. Number 2 is security to secure the current lifestyle. Number 3 is the wealth building bucket. So if you actually started thinking those terms and you started to look at your monthly budget that way, and then what you did was you put goals in each of those categories. For instance, what's the lifestyle? How many months is it going to take for you to build bucket number 2? Make it a goal if you're not sure. Set it as a goal. It's an objective now. Now what you have is a financial plan. Okay? And then you can look at bucket number 3. And believe me, when you're in a position where you got some money in bucket number 3, at that point in time, you might start looking, you might start attracting opportunities to roll the dice. But most people only think about bucket number 1. And that's why they're constantly in a state of panic, constantly a state of poverty consciousness or scarcity consciousness, constantly creating scarcity. You've got to get your mind into a positive outlook where money's concerned. And the best way to give yourself peace of mind is put a plan together, and you know you're feeding the plan. If every month you're taking care of the details, you know that bucket 1 and bucket 2, it may not be the ideal number, but you know you got it going in. You've got it in the plan. It's in the plan. And so you know you're building that security. I'll tell you, there's a peace of mind that goes with that. That peace of mind allows you to become much more optimistic and positive about creating more cash flow. And cash flow is king, not cash. Cash flow is king. And therefore, the business quadrant is all about creating cash flow. And everything you read about, cash flow quadrants is about cash flow. So let's talk about something else now. And if this brings up any questions later, just bring it up. So we got 2 more topics: incentives. So guys, jump in on what you're doing. I'll tell you what I'm doing and you jump in. With respect to incentives, I usually use incentives for rank advancements. Those are where I spend my investments on, helping somebody advance in rank. Whether it's going for silver, or usually if it's somebody going for silvers, is where I'll look at how can I leverage something to create something out of thin air. So let's say you have somebody who's been prospecting, and they got a number of people who are potential business partners, a number of people who are potential customers. I look at what incentives would inspire those customers to take action. What incentives would inspire those business partners to take action? When I mean action, purchase Nikan products, do something. So you can look at that as a unique experience per person. Each person has a unique scenario. And I'll give you one example yesterday. So yesterday I helped my daughter she was invited because she has some acquaintances who do these gatherings, holistic gatherings and meditations and things like that. Anyway, this couple bought this beautiful property with 2 little tiny lakes on it and treed. And I've been hearing all about this. And they decided to have this fair, this artisan market yesterday, and invite some people to showcase whatever they had going. And they created this space and this beautiful atmosphere. Anyways, it was gorgeous. So my daughter said she wanted to do that, and she asked me for her help. So I said, well, okay, let's do that. And the focus was going to be to generate leads for water sales. So we were going to focus on the water, although we were going to introduce a few of the energy technologies, if nothing more than for the purposes of generating interest on the spot. You can do demos with the insoles. You can do demos with the Mag Duo, which, man, I was doing all day long. Getting people's attention was my job, and she would then educate them. And it worked like a charm. And what's also nice is that she was able to generate sales right on the spot. But anyway, so this was our setup. This kind of gives you an idea of the setup. Here, I'll show you a different picture. So yeah, this one. So there she is. And where did you see that the tablecloth? That comes from Life and Balance Tools. There we go. There's a better setup. Can you guys all see that? Let me change my view. I'm going to change it to speaker view so this shows up on the recording. So there she is. She's got the table set up. We've got the chair set up. You can't see the sign. It says "Try Me" on the chair. There's also a little sign on the waterfall that says "Try Me," and there's cups for people to try, little paper cups there. And then right in front of that, you notice what's there? You see the drops of water for each of the different bottles. You know, the pH test. We showed the pH test and the cost of each bottle, which was from $1.99 to $2.50, and then 10 cents for the sport bottle, because that's what the amortized cost of the sport bottle is. It's 10 cents a refill compared to $1.25 or $2.50 was one of the waters. And the best water that was there was the Nikken water. The second best was a bottle called Naya. But of course, with Nikken water, you don't have to drink the plastic, but you do have to, if you drink it through the plastic bottle. So there was a nice little demonstration on these little things that you're seeing on display here. You can get that from Life and Balance Tools. So we have a nice looking display. The vertical one that shows the packs, I had those created, these banners. They are available. The PDFs for this is available. You could take it to a printer or one of these guys that make banners. That's how we did it. And so there you go. Nice little setup. And the giveaway, the handouts, which is something you're going to want. I don't know if I've marketed. Did I advertise this? The QR? Yeah, I think I did. The QR codes are now available on the promos. So the waterfall promo or the sport bottle promo or your business card, you can now just hand them out and it has a QR code. I don't know if you know what a QR code is, but I can explain what that is. Darn, I should have brought one upstairs. Does everybody know what a QR code is? Here, I'll bring up an image so that you get an idea of what I'm talking about. So that's now available to get from Life and Balance Tools. What was that? That was so handy because a person said, okay, I'd like to order that. All I had to do is get their phone pointed to the QR code and off they went. They started placing the order. And so having those QR codes on a sheet or whatever, which they're now generating for you at Life and Balance Tools. This is going to take me further to find. Tell me if you've seen it. I posted it on all the chats. I posted it on Tools, what the QR code option is. Here it is. All right. So there is the front of your, let me do this full screen. So there's the, hang on a sec, view speaker. Okay. So what you see here is the front of the card, and here's the back of the card. And in place of your name and contact information, there's this QR code. All the person has to do is point their camera of their phone to that, and a pop-up will come up, and you click on that pop-up and goes straight to the page. And so then they can place the order. So that's now there, and there's one for the sport bottle as well. And your business card. If you want your business card to have it, you can have it on your business card as well. There's the business card, the front and back. So this takes you straight to Sophia's My Nikken page, her sophia.mynikken.com, which is the shopping cart page essentially for Nikken. So really handy because this is now what people are doing at restaurants for menus. You know, COVID has given us this added advantage of this tool that people are now accustomed to using in order for them to order food and stuff like that at restaurants. How do I get back to the grid that I want? Okay. Somehow my screen is not working the way I want. Okay. Anyway, I'll keep talking while I'm fudging, trying to fix this thing and get back to a normal screen. So anybody has some suggestions for incentives that you're doing Oh, I forgot to mention the incentive. So if you purchased a waterfall, you got a free bracelet. That was an incentive, free bracelet. You had to purchase it that day. The other thing that we did was we wanted to generate leads. So we had a fishbowl and we wrote that there was a free giveaway of a magnetic insoles of the Magstride. And so people dropped their names, and Sophia has a stack of names today to go follow up with because they came to the booth. And guess what happened when they got to the booth? They got a feeling good experience because they were massaged magnetically, and they won't forget that experience. Some people got the rotation test. Some people got the energy test, the balance test. They all got something. One person's rotator cuff, quote unquote, you healed me. And so they gave us a free something or other that they were, whatever they were doing. Anyway, the point is the incentive was do this, get that, give us your name and we're doing a draw and so forth. Those are the simple things. And then there are incentives you can do to offer people in terms of a retail sale or in terms of getting people in the business. So there we go. Who has some suggestions around that you're doing? Anyone? Is nobody using incentives?
I'll go first, Mike.
Shoot, go ahead.
I haven't done it lately, but this is getting me to think of it again. In the past here in Washington, I had the privilege of, we have a big fair here called the Puyallup Fair. You've probably heard of it. It's the late summer, early fall. And for years, the wonderful Herb Schoenfeld and his wife, Marlene, had a wonderful big venue there. I mean, it was huge. They paid a lot of money. So what he would do over the years, he would send out emails to us and he would block off 4 hours to work at the fair. And you choose what time and day, and he would put it on a schedule. You got to shoot it back to him because they fill up fast. And I happened to work with him, and I got to see him master at work for 4 hours. This is some years ago at the Puyallup Fair. And what he would do was put down the insoles. He would put them down on the floor and kind of tape them down on the floor. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. There's just a bit of feedback. Paul, I'm going to put you on mute. I'll unmute you in a second.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
And so he would put the insoles on the floor and would say, come over, we want to show you something. And people would come over and he would give a balance test.
Right.
And then we would do other things. And there'd be little bowls there. And you go in there and we would give away maybe a sample of cream when we had the same cream samples. There's just a bunch of other things he did. And because it was such a very advanced kind of a booth, one you wouldn't normally see, it was indoors, by the way. So at night, the guards, didn't have to be guarded because all the products were locked up. But we had our key things. We had our waterfall. At the time, we didn't have the waterfall. It was the aquaphor era. But we had water for them to taste. And we would get their names by, there's little bitty, and I use them a lot. They're little bitty Q&A forms. And do you have a question with your back, or do you have a problem with sleeping, or do you want to know more about water? They would fill that in and leave that with us so we can contact them as long as we can get their name and their phone number and an email if they'd like to share that. And with that, we would give them something. We would give them the CM cream, or there would be a raffle that I would do, what I used to do in Los Angeles. I used to do one in LA with my partner at the time then. And we would go around and walk around the venue and give out raffle tickets. And we're going to give out various things. Come at 2:00 before the event ends, and we would raffle off insoles. We would raffle off water bottle. We would raffle off jewelry. That's back when the sport jewelry was really popular. And then we would have lines of people just trying the water because we were the only venue that was offering water. And they loved how it looked, and oh, this is pretty, and what is it? And we got to sit and talk with people and explain about what this water does. And so it was a great groundbreaker. And they would give out other information, maybe about sleep, and keep it to 4 or 5 products. You don't want to overwhelm people. But
Correct.
that was a very great way, and I want to do it again because of COVID.
So this type of an event, similar to what Sophia did yesterday, this type of event is great for promotion and exposure. And again, coming back to that tax thing, whatever you're offering as a giveaway, as a gift, in any form of any incentive, whether it's a live show or whether it's going to be through the business or product incentives for somebody you're working with, you know, on your team, those are expenses. Those come off your, you know, you record the expense, the giveaway. How many of you guys, thank you for that, Linda. How many of you guys have submitted a video for the Insoles testimonial, or the Kenko Air testimonial that I ran, or the waterfall testimonial that I ran? You know, those first prize $250, second prize $150, third prize $100. That's a tax write-off for me. So yes, I'm putting $500 in. It's going to come off against my income, because it's a complete cost. But what am I getting for that $500? A whole lot of promotion, a whole lot of focus on water, a whole lot of great testimonials that people can share with other people, which I do all the time. What's that worth? You know, right now, if you consider how much money is being spent in every form of advertisement, that's where the money's at, right? Advertising on Facebook, advertising on Instagram, advertising in newspapers, televisions, billboards. The world revolves around advertising dollars. So I use promotion in my business, and the best promotion is the products, because the products offer more than just a product. Here's another promotion. I gave a bracelet to a waiter who, one of my favorite waiters at one of my favorite restaurants in the city of Toronto, and he had problems with his wrist. That's 2.5 years ago. You should see, if you go to this restaurant, I kid you not, tomorrow, and you see him, Gary, and you ask Gary, tell me about the bracelet on your wrist, Gary, he's going to go on and on and on, because what it did for his wrist, like, talk about a commercial. So I'm at the restaurant about 2 weeks ago, and I brought my cousin to the restaurant. We're sitting down. Gary's our server. Gary comes over, and I think he thought I was with a prospect or something, because he overheard us talking business. And he says, let me tell you about this bracelet. So Gary starts up about the bracelet. And I got to tell him, it's my cousin with me. It's okay. She already knows about Nika. But anyway, he says, I swear by this, Mike. I swear on my mother's, that's what he does. And the table next to us were 4 women, 4 or 5, I'm not sure now, women who were overhearing him. And so then he leaves our table. I carry on my conversation. Next thing I know, he comes over, tries to get my attention. Hey, Mike, and he points to the table. These ladies are talking about, you know, there's one lady here who's got carpal tunnel. And I turn over, and I'm like, I'm nodding my head, and it's like, okay, so he's now connecting us. Like, so, and this is going on and on. He's now a waterfall owner. One bracelet, okay. Was it a good investment? The goodwill that he's created in that restaurant for me, who he's told, and so forth, I got a business waiting to happen right there. And by the way, I think it's going to be his business. He doesn't know that yet. But the point is, it's a good idea to invest in your business, and the best investment is product. But I deter. Let me get back to, we got one more thing to go before we run out of time. We're running out of time. Let's see. Oh, shoot, we are running out of time. Real quick, again, reminder, invest product incentives. Think about selling a sleep system. What can you offer? Do the math. Figure out, what are you going to make, or what are the person that you're working with going to make? Do the math. Yes, it's going to cost you money, some, but it's going to make you money. And it could make you more than just that transaction. It can go on into other things. What about an investment in products for somebody who's about to break rank? What if you said, I'll do this if you do that? I'll do this if you do that. That's a good investment, because it's a rank advancement. Rank advancements are promotions. Promotions are recognized. Recognizing promotions multiplies promotions. Good idea. All right. What keeps you in the game, guys? We got 11 minutes to discuss what keeps some of us who've been in this game for so long in the game. Why are we in Nikan? After 10 years or 15 years, what keeps it fresh? What keeps you in the game? Anyone? And make it a short answer, because I want to get as many as we can. Anyone?
Sure. For me, it's reverse aging.
Because it's fun.
Fun.
Possibility.
Reverse- Possibilities.
Good health without prescriptions.
Good health without prescriptions.
It's a purpose beyond self for me.
Purpose beyond self.
I like the community and I like the philosophy.
Cool. So there, you know, I guess then if we didn't have the community, we wouldn't be talking about this. So how important is the community to this whole thing?
Huge.
Yeah.
It's giving new people an opportunity to join this community and or at least see and know that there's other choices.
Exactly. Anybody else?
Giving people hope, helping other people escape.
Love that one. How important is hope in one's life? Goodness gracious, it's everything.
And the collaboration of the community. It's not competitive, it's supportive.
Okay, well, we're community, fun, hope, purpose, products that keep us youthful. So, I mean, these are great reasons to stay in the game. I think mine are just the same, pretty much. You know, I think I like the fun. It's fun for me. I make money at it, and I feel that my effort has impact, which gives me a sense of fulfillment of purpose. So, you know, that's the trifecta, right? If you can make money, have fun, and make a difference, boy, you really got it going on. So yeah, that keeps me in the game. I want to read something to you that I was sharing with our CEO recently, because we're looking at wordsmithing. We're looking at words that better describe who we are and what we do, because I'm really not happy with the word wellness consultant anymore. I don't think that really describes what we do or who we are. And it certainly doesn't describe somebody who just joins the business very, very well. And it doesn't describe their intentions either. So here's what I read. I wrote, every home a wellness home. That's our mission. And the vision for 2025 is to turn 10 million people into people practicing active wellness and creating the most influential global wellness community in the world. So if every home a wellness home is our mission, that's a global vision for the, you know, eternity. Vision 2025 is a quantifiable subset of that, 10 million people by 2025 practicing active wellness, and in turn becoming the most influential global wellness community. And we just talked about community, how important that is. Therefore, we need active wellness members, like 10 million of them. Therefore, we need active wellness ambassadors, people who advocate for active wellness and what that means. And we also therefore need wellness community builders and influencers. Those are the three different things that we need in order to achieve Vision 2025. Again, we need active wellness members. So we need to increase membership. And that what I love about that word is anybody, and this is coming up because there should not be a fallback position that a person walks away from an introduction to Nikan and says, I don't want anything. Or it doesn't result in them becoming a part of this. That should never happen, ever. And I think if it's happening, it's because we created that. And we created that by creating a distinction. You're either a customer or not. Well, can't you be a member? Being an active wellness member includes being a customer, but doesn't exclude anybody. So I think everybody ought to be an active wellness member and participate as much as they want, to whatever extent they want, in active wellness. A great way to start your active wellness journey is to plug into some of the Nikan products and maybe participate or plug into some of the Nikan community events. Doesn't that sound like an offer you can't refuse?
Yeah.
I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. That's what we're after. What about this? we're going to get to 10 million people practicing active wellness in our Vision 2025 because we've gotten help and we need the help. We need people to actively promote this concept of active wellness. So we need active wellness advocates or ambassadors. And that encompasses different paths. There's different paths in NECAN for which a person can be active. There's what we call the retail model for somebody looking for a supplemental income. There's something we call the franchise model where somebody's looking for a little bit more of a part-time income. And then we have what we call the network marketing model or the network model for somebody who's looking maybe for primary income or a career. So there's different ways of being a wellness advocate in NECAN, different paths. But in all of that, at the end of the day, what keeps NECAN going and growing is community. And so what we need to do is also create and embrace wellness community builders, people who are inspired to actually build community and influence community. And you know who the influencers are. Who are the people responsible for the NECAN active wellness community right now? You could probably name them. You know who they are. They're the influencers. And they're the ones who put on the events. They're the ones who are the guest speakers at the events and so forth. So there's involvement in the community, and you can be distinct also within that by being somebody who's a greater influence as a member of the community. And so these are the pathways and opportunities available to being part of the NECAN active wellness community. How do you like those words? Yeah, I think those words are better suited than a customer. You can be a customer or you can be a consultant. That says nothing about what we're doing. So if you like that, start using it. Try it on for size and see how people respond to that. Paul, you're unmuted. Do you have a comment you want to make? Paul Gabius.
Yeah, I do like those words very much. And, I just find myself, I used to find that it was just as easy to get somebody to executive than to sell somebody a pair of insoles. I don't know why, but that's what my experience was. So I'm really looking for people, and I'm upfront with this, for people to help us propagate NECAN, to get it to become bigger. So I start with the business, and then people can ramp themselves down if they want. But I find it easier to go that way than to start down and then try to ramp them up.
Well, that's my approach, Paul, and that's what I teach, and that's all I've ever taught.
Me too.
So yeah, so you can start the retail model, work your way up to the franchise model or the network marketing model. I've always started with the network marketing model and work my way backwards if need be. But it's being open to the fact that there are other paths. Be receptive to the feedback you get and see if you have to adjust your talk so that somebody feels, wait, that's a little much for me. Then you step it back and say, well, let me show you what the pathways are, because not everybody comes in here, looking to blaze a trail. Some people are just looking to get their feet wet and see how it fits. That's fine. So, but yeah, I'm always, offer the 3 packs and then see where it falls. I always say 1 pack is good, 2 packs is better, 3 packs is ideal. How do you want to get your wellness experience started? Let them tell you, but at least put the offer on the table. At least let them know. So
good.
It's important that we start tweaking, and I will be sharing more with you, because we've got some scripts that we've developed, the contact and invite script, as well. What's the email or the we don't email, we text. What's the text we send somebody after that initial call, because they're expecting information now. There's a scripted text where you just fill in a couple of blanks, the date that you booked the ABC and so forth, and the links that you send. One of the links is to the 1% video, for instance. Watch this first, and it's the link to the 1%. and then watch the first 4 links of this. The rest are, you can, whatever the script says, and then you go to A Better Way. In their case, it's their personal website, but it's the same. So the idea here is take the guesswork out of the business for somebody brand new. The only thing they should learn how to do really, really, really well as quickly as possible is how to make that invitation. And if they've done the invitation right, that invitation includes an ABC call scheduled. That means the next time they connect with that person, they got an A on the phone with them. So they don't have to worry about handling objections. They just have to get that initial contact. So that's what we've been working on, tweaking that, so that we increase the probability of meeting with somebody in an ABC call as a follow-up to the introduction of Niken through that portal, that space that has all these different links that you know as the royalalliance.com/a-better-way, that page. You might see a slight switch on the page as well. We may switch from the Water Matters video to the Wellness Home video, which has more of an overview and showcases the 3 packs. We're finding that might be a better suited video. I'm going to more on that after my discussion tomorrow with the team. But this is what I'm doing most of the time right now is ABC calls and figuring out what's working and what could work better. So, and I'll bring that intel to you. Of course, most of everything we're doing, you already know, because Leo's been doing it for years and is whipping everybody's ass as far as I'm concerned. So we're playing catch up to Leo right now, but look out, Leo. We're coming. Anyways, so that's it. Anybody have a final word as we wrap up here, 10:02?
Thank you.
Why is it so bright? Do you have a back screen on, or is it just literally bright where you are?
I'm sitting out on my patio
Where's that?
in California.
Oh, of course, that's why it's so bright. Duh. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful week. And, we are midstream for August. Don't let August get away from you. I know a lot of people say, oh, August is summer, whatever. Listen, my daughter went silver in July. And I got 3 people actually running for silver this month. So don't let it slip away.
All right.
Have a good one.
Good night.
Good night.
Mike.
Great call, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.